Let's talk about Mr. Michael Flynn. Oh, Mr. Flynn. Mr. Q movement, Mr. Theosophy, Mr. Christian Nationalist. Let's talk about him, shall we? So this just made it out into the news. It says Michael Flynn, Department of Justice in settlement talks over $50 million claim. It says the Justice Department has been discussing settlements with two former officials from Donald Trump's first term who, like the president, claim that they're owed major payouts from the United States government as victims of politically motivated actions. The administration has been in talks since at least late summer to resolve lawsuits brought by Trump's first national security advisor, Michael Flynn, and former senior White House lawyer, Stephen Passantino, according to court filings. Flynn is seeking $50 million for what he alleges as a wrongful prosecution. So if you guys don't know, I mean, there's so many things about this guy, but let's just stay on topic for this. If you guys don't know, this is basically the dude who was involved with setting up the January 6th psyop. And yes, it absolutely was a psyop. Trump and his team were on the field there orchestrating this thing, but the orders were obviously coming from higher up. From the table themselves in regards to this. But Michael Flynn was one of the people on the outside of the Capitol during the January 6th thing, and this is what this is about, because he was involved with that and the whole 2020 overturning, the election fraud and everything like that. And so he's trying to get $50 million from the government, which is just basically just robbing the treasury at this point. Remember, Donald Trump's trying to do the same thing. He's trying to get over like $200 million, which he said if he gets paid for it because of how it's set up, they wouldn't even need to tell us that they paid him. So they're just robbing the treasury on this. Well, his background goes pretty deep with Palantir. And I'll be honest, as somebody who has looked into Flynn and who has looked into Palantir, I knew that there was some connection there, but I didn't realize how deep and how far back it goes, honestly. Until now. It says Palantir has a well-placed friend in Trumpland. Retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, a key national security advisor to President-elect Trump, has quietly advocated for the Silicon Valley data company. This is coming from a report from 2016. It says Palantir Technologies, the Silicon Valley data and analysis firm whose biggest customer is the federal government, looks poised to have at least one powerful ally in the Trump administration. Michael Flynn, the retired lieutenant general who reportedly under consideration to be President-elect Trump's national security advisor, has helped advance Palantir's cause in Washington and since leaving government has been a behind-the-scenes advocate for the tech company. Palantir, launched in part with CIA money and now valued at $20 billion, it's much bigger than that now, has long had contracts with Defense and Intelligence Agency. We've covered the CIA connection. We understand that Palantir is one of the biggest companies out there right now, and we understand that they're way beyond just the United States military and stuff. We realize, and we've talked about how Palantir was setting up the main ground floor during the Trump's first administration, and then it was this administration that they came in and started doing all the work on everything. It says, if appointed, National Security Advisor Flynn could prove even more helpful to Palantir's interest in Washington than Peter Thiel, the Palantir co-founder and chairman who prominently supported Trump's campaign, donating $1.25 million to a pro-Trump effort and giving the impassioned speech at the Republican National Convention. While Thiel is now helping with the transition, the billionaire venture capitalist has said he has no intention to take a full-time position in D.C. He doesn't need a full-time position in D.C. because he sits above all the full-time positions at D.C. We've talked about that as well. Thiel is not at the top, but they're not down there at the political theater level either. He's one or two clicks above that. So he doesn't need a full-time position. He's got more power than all those people in D.C. anyways. It says Flynn, vice chairman of Trump's transition team, has been a key advisor to Trump on national security issues. And Flynn is a former director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, a Palantir client, which as of May had the codename Willow inside the tent company. While he hasn't advocated for Palantir in public, he has been outspoken on an issue that has become central to the company's efforts to embed its software through the U.S. military. In March, again, this is in 2016, a year and a half after leaving government, Flynn urged the Army to abandon and rebuild the existing system, which was created by Palantir competitors. The comments echoed a statement by Flynn in 2010 when he was a senior military intelligence officer, in which he criticized existing intelligence tools and requested that new technology for fighting the war in Afghanistan. Following that statement, the Pentagon provided Palantir servers to soldiers in the Special Forces and Marines. Now, a confidential email reviewed by BuzzFeed News shows that Flynn had played a role as a Palantir advocate since leaving government. According to March 2015 email, Flynn, along with retired General Stanley Crystal, acted as a matchmaker for Palantir, and he still secured a real estate and investment banking firm owned by Wells Fargo. They didn't ultimately go with Palantir from my understanding on that, but Flynn was basically out there selling Palantir to other companies as well after his time of selling Palantir to Trump in the military during his time in there as well. Pretty fascinating, to say the least. Let's keep going. We also have this report. This is from 2012. It says, spy chief called Silicon Valley stooge in Army software civil war. I can't make it any bigger for you guys, otherwise the page gets all distorted. So, but you can see that it's right here. It says, basically saying the Pentagon functionaries are now calling one of their own top generals a corporate stooge. That would be none other than Flynn. And it says, at least that's the plan. In reality, there's a sizable contingent of troops, including some senior officers, who think that it's called the DCGSA, it's their old school intelligence data collection system, is too slow and complicated to get the job done. Instead of having that system built by defense contracting giants like Lockheed, Raytheon, and IBM, these troops have instead begged for a data mining, information visualization, and link analysis suite from a controversial Silicon Valley firm called Palantir. So this is back even in 2012 that Palantir was getting their foot into the door with the United States military. Again, remember, Palantir, of course, is a CIA company. And so obviously that transition was going to happen, but it happened pretty quick. Said the trouble started in 2010 when Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, then the military's top intelligence officer in Afghanistan and now the head of Defense Intelligence Agency, complained in a report to his fellow generals that the enemy is able to hide in plain sight because intelligence analysts and theater currently do not have tools required to fully analyze the tremendous amounts of information currently available. Flynn demanded better systems for analysis. That so-called Joint Urgent Operation Need Statement, or JUNONS, was forwarded to the Pentagon's Combating Terrorism Technical Office Support, and they decided that Palantir was the answer. Says the office started supplying dozens of Palantir servers to troops throughout Afghanistan, mostly Special Forces and Marines, who never signed on to that original DCGSA system. So basically, even in 2010, Mike Flynn was trying to get the U.S. military to adopt the Palantir system. And it goes on to say that for the Army officials trying to get the entire service on a single, sensible, intelligent network, it was enough to drive them mad. Flynn's 2010 JUNONS was clearly ghostwritten by a Palantir engineer. So Mike Flynn, his connection to Palantir goes all the way back to 2010. Again, I didn't realize how far back his connection or how deep his connection was to Palantir, but General Flynn was indeed a part of it. Now, you take this and you just stack this on top of everything else we know about this dude. We talked about his connection with Palantir here. We know his in-depth connection when it comes to the Trump administration and all of those surrounding it. We understand that he is I believe one of the creators, because I think it's an agency created psyop, but I think he's one of the creators, but one of the leaders when it comes to the Q movement. There's a whole bunch of evidence that supports that he's one of the top dogs. We know he pushed the Q thing, but I think he was one of the leaders of it when it comes to the psyop. Again, he's military intelligence and connected to Palantir and the CIA and the intelligence agencies and all that stuff. So why wouldn't he be able to do that? We understand that he was on the ground floor when it comes to the January 6th psyop. We understand that he's heavily circulated in the Christian Nationalist movement, the NAR movements, and groups like Turning Point USA and the Awaken America Tour and everything like that. We understand that he's a follower of Theosophy, and I've shown the video, a side-by-side comparison of him reciting the Elizabeth Clare Prophet's 7 Rays prayer and forcing those in the church to recite the same prayer, which is Theosophy. This is not a good guy. This is an evil guy. He is an evil dude. And yet, for some reason, he's embraced around the Christian Nationalist movement. He's embraced by so many pastors. That's why I don't trust and don't endorse people like Alex Newman, who absolutely loves this guy and endorses this guy and praises this guy and hangs around with not only people like Michael Flynn, but other people in that crew and things like that. That's why I don't trust a single word that comes out of the people like Alex Newman's mouth, because of his connection to Michael Flynn and Roger Stone and all those other people. These are not good people. They're not. And we need to recognize that. We need to understand that there is a massive, just incredibly in-depth psyop and deception that is sweeping through the church. And it's run by people like this guy. The Q movement was all wrapped up in the church. The Reawaken Tour, all wrapped up in the church. Turning Point, all wrapped up in the church. January 6th, all wrapped up in the church. And he's been involved with all of it. All of it. Every bit of it. And then his connection to Palantir on top of it, which is a company that most people in the church haven't even heard of. There's more people now than you go back 6 or 7 months ago, but I'd still say the majority don't even know what on earth Palantir is. They're like, what? You speaking gibberish? Adding on to that, his little brother, Michael Flynn has a little brother, General Charles A. Flynn, is a senior advisor at Palantir. So not only Michael Flynn himself, but his little brother is one as well. And he's also connected to the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. So think about that one. So his little brother, and if you guys don't know, his little brother here, Charles A. Flynn, was inside the Capitol during January 6th. So you had Charles Flynn, the little brother, inside the Capitol. And then you had Michael Flynn, the older brother, outside the Capitol. And they were orchestrating that whole January 6th psyop situation. Keep that in mind. Here's another thing. This was 1 month ago, by the way. It's from the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. It said this week, ASPI and Palantir Technologies hosted General Charles A. Flynn, former commanding general of the United States Army Pacific, for a conversation on military strategy, technology, and trust in the Indo-Pacific. So we got more confirmation on that one as well. And to add on to all this, because of everything going on, this also came out. If you guys didn't see it, this was on the 10th. It said Trump pardons Rudy Giuliani and other figures allegedly involved with efforts to overturn the 2020 election. That involves, again, people like Flynn and both Flynn's and the January 6th situation as well. This includes John Eastman, Mark Meadows, Sidney Powell. Says Trump pardoned high-profile individuals allegedly involved in his attempt to overturn the election, including Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Boris Epstein, John Easton, and Mark Meadows, and 72 other individuals allegedly associated with the effort to challenge the 2020 election results. The pardons are largely symbolic, as no one on the list was facing federal charges, and Trump does not have the ability to pardon state charges. So that also goes along with all of this as well, as well as the settlement that they're trying to do to get Flynn $50 million, because we all know he needs $50 million, robbing the treasury. Again,